Greetings and salutations, my lovely little bitelings. Today I'll be talking about whether or not TERA is still worth playing as of 2017. And if you want the short and uninformed answer, yes. If you'd actually like to know why it's still worth playing, then go ahead and watch the video, as I'll be explaining the good aspects of TERA and the bad, obviously, as there's no MMORPG, or game for that matter, without faults. So TERA, as you may or may not know, was originally a pay-to-play MMORPG, and it only became a free-to-play title in 2013, which is no doubt one of the reasons why TERA looks and feels like a high-quality MMORPG than other MMORPGs that started off as free-to-play. TERA is an open-ish action MMORPG. I say open-ish because whilst there is no loading screens between zones and regions, you can't fly on top or on things that are designed to be unreachable, so it's about 80% open, which is still good, especially since TERA released flying, giving players the ability to freely fly around in the skies. Although your mount does have a flight time meter, so don't expect to remain airborne forever. Granted, it does recover awfully fast, however, I felt it's still worth mentioning as it's not a permanent flight. TERA's characters and TERA's combat is often referenced as a way to describe what other MMORPGs should strive to be like, as its combat is quite fluid and with a large amount of varying classes to keep TERA fresh. It's no wonder TERA has managed to stay around even after all these years. Anyway, let's jump right into what TERA does right and what TERA flat out sucks at, and whether or not it's worth playing for you right now. While TERA has gorgeous graphics and character models, the character creation is more limited than in other popular MMORPGs. This doesn't necessarily mean TERA's customization is bad by any means, however, it is worth pointing out as you can't alter your character's physique or height in the character creation, but I'll go back to that in a moment. Let's talk about what is found within the character creation. As soon as you enter the character creator, you will need to pick a class or race, and TERA has a ton of both races and classes, some of which are gender locked. All of the original classes don't have any gender restrictions, however, those classes being Warrior, Slayer, Berserker, Lancer, Archer, Mystic, Priest, and of course, Sorcerer. So, whilst the newer classes are gender-locked, you still have a large variety of classes to choose, without restriction. The classes that are gender-locked, and what races can be them, are as follows. Elens are the only race to have access to Ninja and Reaper. Elens are also a female-exclusive race. Castanic females and High Elf females are the only race and genders allowed to become Gunners. Castanic females can also play the most recently added class, which is Valkyrie, which again is locked to the female gender. Lastly, the Brawler class is locked to human females only. So yeah, while there are 5 classes in total that are locked, you still have the ability to play the other 8 classes as any of the other races and genders, if playing a female character is a problem for you. Now, the actual creation of your character is pretty simple. You pick between 10 face presets, with each preset having its own set of adornments, which are like makeup, beards, tattoos, and the like. Once you've picked out what you like most, you can use the sliders to further edit your character's face. And before moving on to the naming of your character, you have the option to preview higher level outfits for your respective class. And of course, choose your voice type for your newly made character. Now, back to body customization. Whilst you can't actually edit your character's body shape in the character creator, you can however buy items within the MMORPG to enhance and decrease specific parts of your body, aka bust size increases and decreases for female characters, thigh sizes, and your character's height. Which is awesome that you can do this, but at the same time, the fact that the feature is within the game, yet not found within the character creator itself, seems unnecessary, as it could have easily been added to the character creator, as affording shape changers can be quite expensive and time consuming. But on the other hand, it's another thing for our players to work towards in TERA. So generally regarding the character customization, TERA has a great character creator, as you can make unique characters and gorgeous characters if you spend the time fixing up said character. But you're still limited, as you don't have immediate access to body customization. The hair and skin colors can be limiting for those of you who like more fantasy colors, as there's no color wheel, and you'll be required to pick between the hair colors they've chosen. However, even with said limitations, you'll still, no doubt, spend an unnecessarily large amount of time in the character creation. The combat found within TERA is action-based, as you've probably already guessed, and is one of the major pulling features of TERA, as there aren't a lot of open action MMORPGs that have a large selection of classes to choose between that also have good graphics. So each class has their own unique playstyles and armor types. For instance, the Berserker class, which uses heavy armor and is the strongest, or at least one of the strongest classes in TERA, is actually quite slow at fighting than, say, the Ninja or Warrior, which could mean that they could do more general DPS to faster bosses, as they could keep up with it. However, they could instead do worse against slower bosses, as the Berserker skills would hit more easily due to the boss being so slow. Each class has something that makes them excel, so you'll find players playing all types of classes rather than everyone just playing one specific OP class, as in-mass entertainment is constantly buffing and nerfing classes, so the best class fluctuates often. The skill system in TERA is similar to Ion, as in, using a specific skill, you're given the ability to use a follow-up skill that chains together, allowing you to use a large number of skills in succession without much downtime. Although there are a number of people who actually dislike this feature, as it can make the combat boring, as you'll only use one skill and then continue to hit spacebar until the chain is over, rinse and repeat. Although this will only get you so far, as if you actually want to be good at your chosen class or do good in raids and PvP, you'll need to click more than just spacebar. The skills in TERA can also be altered to your liking, as each skill has around 2 to 4 types of upgrades. These upgrades can do anything from making a certain skill cost less energy or mana, to increasing damage done or stun duration, for instance. In regards to TERA's combat, you won't find much fault, as most of the classes are fun to play on, and you can manually customize your skills to fit your playstyle. Although the classes can be unbalanced at times, however, this doesn't really change the fact that TERA's combat is fast-paced and fun, whether you're fighting normal monsters, spams, or bosses in raids. Although, if you suffer from ping issues, no doubt you'll hate the combat, as TERA is an action MMORPG, and if you're suffering from ping issues, you'll constantly miss your attacks if you're long range, or almost die to otherwise easy monsters on melee characters. This isn't a negative in regards to the combat as a whole, but people often complain about encountering ping issues in TERA, and therefore it's worth mentioning. Although, I can say I haven't personally experienced this for myself, because whenever I log into TERA, everything works smoothly. But I could just be lucky, I guess. So, it's often argued that TERA doesn't have much endgame content regarding both PvP and PvE. However, that's simply not true. TERA has a good amount of things to do once you've reached the max level. After hitting the max level in TERA, the actual difficulty rises, as some of the many dungeons available to you have hard versions that can be very punishing for those of you undergeared or just generally unfamiliar with the specific dungeon mechanics. Some of the dungeons players can look forward to playing at 65 are, and do forgive my pronunciation of some of these names, Channelworks, Baphomet's Rise, Sky Cruiser Endeavor, Timescape, Calivan's Dreadnought, Velik's Hold, and Velik's Sanctuary. Some of these dungeons can be played in hard mode, however you'll need to grind dungeons constantly to get good enough gear to fully enjoy it. But of course, running dungeons over and over isn't the only thing you can do at endgame, as you can also gather gear from participating in PvP content by fighting in battlegrounds, although the PvP side of TERA isn't updated as frequently as the PvE aspect of the MMORPG. So to summarize, once reaching max level, you'll need to grind to get your gear, which will allow you to enter harder dungeons without getting one shot. Once you can finally do the hard dungeons, you'll instead grind them for better gear. PvP, while not having as much content, functions similarly. Granted, there are no hard modes for PvP. So while there's not a lack of endgame content in TERA, it can get repetitive as you try to collect the best gear and upgrade it. While grinding can be seen as a negative, if everything in TERA was easy, you'd finish getting your required items and be done with the MMORPG. Then again, no one likes rerunning the same dungeons constantly, not getting gear. If you're an avid player of TERA, you probably would have noticed that there's a lot less people actually interested in PvP content, as world PvP has died off. People don't really participate in guild vs guild, and as there's no time limit, from what I believe, players control you, staying in safe zones, making guild vs guild battles tedious at times. Finally, besides getting PvP gear from battlegrounds that have an unnaturally long queue time, there's not actually much point to it, as it doesn't really affect anything other than just fighting other players. This information is based on my experience and that of countless people on Reddit, in Mass Entertainment's forums, and pretty much everywhere else, as you will find countless people complaining about the PvP aspects of TERA. All in all, TERA's endgame is a grind. Whether it's a boring grind or an enjoyable grind depends on the party members you tackle the dungeons with. Although I feel as though I should mention that there was a recent patch in TERA that has altered the difficulty to specific dungeons, which has upset a large amount of TERA fans, and previously difficult dungeons are now simple. In regards to PvP, TERA doesn't really have a flourishing PvP community like it did a few years ago. Whether it's to do with class imbalances or a lack of rewarding content for people who actually PvP is not clear. What is that TERA is more focused on the PvE aspect of the MMORPG. So obviously population in an MMORPG is important, as if it's a dead game, how will you enjoy any of the group content, right? Right, so if you Google around, you'll no doubt find people saying, "TERA is dead, abandoned ship." Okay, maybe not in those exact words, but you get the picture. TERA isn't dead. In fact, it's still got a large amount of people playing. However, you're not gonna see 10 plus people running around each region, as the leveling experience is a lot easier nowadays. You'll probably see around 2 to 3 people in each region doing, well, whatever they want. I mean, it could be more, but I'm going by averages, as you could run around and see no one, and at times you could find 10 people. It just depends on the time of day. Near instances, aka dungeons, you'll see around 8-ish people waiting to form a team or waiting in the dungeon queues. Or within towns, you'll see a ton of people just hanging out. So yeah, I wouldn't consider this a dead MMORPG. With all of TERA's flaws and problems, is it still worth putting the time into playing it right now in 2017? I do believe so. TERA can be easy at times, as leveling was improved to be more casual friendly, and the PvP isn't as popular as it once was. This doesn't detract from the sheer amount of fun you can have in TERA. Leveling up, flying throughout most of the zones, making alt characters to mess around on, getting tons of cosmetic items to dole up your characters, dungeon with friends or random people and make some new friends, as TERA doesn't seem to have a toxic community like some other MMORPGs out there. TERA is a beautiful looking, fun MMORPG. Can it get boring at times? Yes, it sure can. Can it be annoying trying to upgrade gear and it keeps failing? Sure does. But it's still a ton of fun playing, even with these faults. TERA isn't for everyone, but for those of you who can get past its flaws, will no doubt come to enjoy what TERA has to offer. Thanks guys for watching this video. Hopefully I managed to cover all of the important subjects, but I do apologize if I did overlook something important. Either way guys, good day, night, or afternoon, wherever it is where you are, and I'll see you guys in the next video.